Today we're going to be playing Soma, and it has been completely broken in about every way imaginable. And it's a lot of fun. Our run begins as soon as we're done dreaming, with a pretty cool trick actually. Using the timer as a guide, the moment it turns green, I can press A and W, and after a slight delay, roughly once the timer actually starts moving, I can slightly swipe my mouse to the left while spam clicking to pick up the phone early before actually being able to see anything, allowing me to open the 3 different areas that the medicine could be, making sure to open the cupboard last as it will force it to always spawn there. Then I can just grab the phone by clicking the headboard of the bed, and make sure to grab the medicine on my way out. Unfortunately, we gotta sit on the subway for a bit, but we can make sure to spam right-click to cancel the call with Jesse as soon as possible. Loading into Munchie's office, I make sure to hold forward and sprint, putting me right at the keypad as soon as possible while I load it. I enter 2501, then hop down the hall and prepare Munchie's skip. By timing my jump so that my head hits the top of the doorway, I can get a bunch of momentum, and by hitting a button on my mouse to increase my DPI from 550 to 2000, I can spin my camera around to get back out of the room. Once I hear his warning about needles, I know I did it right, and can save and quit, and then upon reloading, can just immediately sit in the chair, skipping a good amount of dialogue. Eventually, Munchie will scan our brain, and upon waking up as Robo Simon, I can hold forward and sprint to get out of the chair earlier than what you're supposed to be able to. It is time for some quick clips. By grabbing a prop close to its edge and angling it just right, I can let go and then quickly re-grab it again. It can be a bit finicky, takes a little getting used to, but most of the time, it'll just push you right through to the other side.
This isn't funny.
I then grab this box, set it next to the vent, activate the wildflower, and climb inside. So I'm on the speedrun branch since the devs were awesome enough and added one right to Steam. And in the first version of the game, this vent had no collision on the inside, so we can just walk right back out, grab our box, and utilizing the same re-grab technique, but while looking straight down and making sure to have the object just the right distance away, I can hop on the box and fly up to the next area. Setting our box aside for later, I enter the numbers 2203, align the signal, then try to time touching this wildflower just as Simon is getting pulled into the cutscene with Catherine. If time's right, I'm still allowed to move around freely and can hop back onto my box, fly out of the room, and drop down here, where I can talk to this poor fella, which skips the conversation with Catherine, and upon leaving the room will put us right into the next bit, where the room we were just in gets flooded. That was pretty nice.
I think this place is about to collapse.
I then heal up over by the meatball, and get teleported back to the room. Are you just chilling now? Where we can now fly out and make our way to the next clip. Luckily, flying on props is super easy when they're just laying on the ground like this. Just gotta hop on, double click, and you're off. Scrolling it away from myself helps me to go straight and fast. Scrolling it in myself can help me ascend quickly. Definitely takes a lot of getting used to do this well. I drop down onto the rock, walking close to the edge to make sure to hit a certain loading trigger. Then can make my way over to this door where I clip through, but make sure to re-grab the prop and keep hold of it on the other side, because we need this to stay outside this door, and if it gets too far away, it won't be there. So I try to gently let it down and keep it still long enough to be sure that it won't drift away. The underwater physics can definitely be a bit finicky with this. I then activate this panel from as far away as possible, while at the same time sprinting and jumping backwards so that I can get back into the doorway in time before the second door closes. This allows me to be up against the first door, keeping the second one from closing at all, and once we load, this door will allow me to clip back out and I can get my prop again. Nice.
Let's hope the shuttle.
Then we just gotta follow this tunnel all the way down and clip back through using this ladder. A little scary. Standing on the hatch and timing my jump just before the ladder hits the floor allows me to speed up the climb ever so slightly. Now we can hop on our next prop and begin flying all the way over to Curry. This thing can definitely be pretty annoying to fly on at times, but we need to get a lot of height here, since this level just keeps going up for quite a while, and we need to be able to slip through into the station through a hole in the side, which is pretty high up. Little high, little high. I quickly grab this fire extinguisher to clip through this wall. Then another one to fly up through the hole in the ceiling, bypassing the ladder. I keep using the extinguisher to take me all the way up to the next ceiling, using the bush of seaweed or whatever it is there to judge my position. And once I crouch and scroll the object into myself enough, I can clip through right into the next area we need to be. Where we can pull the same plug 3 times and do one of the harder clips in the game, for me personally anyway.
Warning. Reactor collapse imminent. Proceed to the emergency
No! Oh my god, this fucking clip is the worst thing in existence. Unfortunately, I did mess it up the first time, and this was a big time killer for me on this run. But it was a pretty good run so far, so I decided to keep going. I've been trying it a few different ways lately, but angling it down and then running into it like this seems to be the best way that I've found so far. And of course, trying to time it so that you're trying to do the clip when there's the least amount of god-awful screen shake happening is of course your best bet, because there's a lot of screen shake. We then hope we can squeeze into this little crack here, where we can then drop through the ceiling and make our escape. Even with that rather big mistake, I was still on a pretty good pace, so I didn't let it get to me too much and got ready for the next section, which has some of the hardest tricks in the run. Basically, all the way up through Omicron is just full of really tough tricks. After we finally crash, I start moving the moment I hear the pulsing sound stop. I don't touch my mouse though. I just sprint all the way into the wall where I point my cursor at the specific spot, press back and space very quickly, one right after the other. What I'm trying to do is hit the top of the pod in a specific spot, and if done right, we trigger the interact on the door, allowing us to just leave without grabbing the Omni tool, which is essential for the next trick to work. I then make my way over to align the signal for the Zeppelin and call it in right after. I hurry back over to this building, and by looking at a certain spot while leaning and running into it, I can spam click on an interactable inside the building, which will pull me right into it. I clip out using the extinguisher, then take both it and the chair over to the middle. Oh, the rotation, man. The rotation kills my soul. We now need to take the chair over to the Zeppelin, and by standing on top of it and grabbing it, I can fall inside the chair itself, and after re-grabbing it, I put it into a pretty glitched state, where I can then angle it into the box, and hopefully, if we're lucky, have it prop the box open, allowing me to grab the stun gun. I hurry to stun the bot, grab the chip and the extinguisher on the way back. I slot in the chip, talk to Kath, and the moment I activate the Zeppelin, I fly off into the void using the pipe below me to guide me in a certain direction. Since once we load into the next area, I want to drop down in a good spot. Ideally, if we can hit the edge of a rock just right, we can get a huge boost. But it's a pretty tough thing to time. I'm not all that good at it yet, and I didn't get it this time, unfortunately. Next, we got a few tricks that used to be the largest run killers for me, honestly. A really tough jump and then a clip, but luckily I have recently figured out much better ways of setting myself up, and it went pretty well this time. Upon making my way over to the next station, I stand in this corner, and once I see myself get lowered into the ground, I crouch, which will fully pop me out of bounds. I then try to line myself up here, a certain distance from the edge, using markings on the floor, that way I can run and jump towards this corner. I quickly crouch once I'm in the air, which lowers me down just enough to squeeze under the floor here. Once I'm under, I can press shift and jump to get a boost back up and can just barely reach the Omni tool. This can be pretty tough to get down, and I still miss it a lot, but not today. Running into the wall here and spamming jump will then hopefully let me up. Usually it works pretty well. I then jump into this corner where I try to look at a certain spot on the floor in front of me. I don't press anything for a moment, then just hold D, hoping to clip through. Thankfully, I got it pretty quick. This clip can potentially clip you forward as well, and then you gotta climb over top of the invisible wall, but luckily I got the best possible scenario though. I activate this panel, and the moment that it says activate, I can save and quit, and once I reload, the water draining will be skipped, and we can head inside. Immediately grabbing the fire extinguisher, hopping on, and flying over to this next panel, which I can just stand on and use the extinguisher to clip right through, back out of bounds. Making my way over to this hole, I drop down, shattering Simon's ankles. I gently drop down into this next spot, trying hard to not get thrown into the void, and luckily get back in bounds where our friend is super excited to see us as always, and it's off to the next level after a bit of dialogue.
We got stuck in the ceiling. Haven't had that happen in so long, but that used to happen a lot to me.
Once I can finally move again, I quickly run to this wall, where you guessed it, I will be clipping out of bounds again. By quickly moving my camera to the right and then back again, I can easily clip through and land on a small chunk on the other side. I then just gotta jump since there is a hole there, and I've fallen through it many times.
I can make my way along the ceiling.
Be careful not to get pulled in. Many things along the ceiling will try to grab Simon and keep you from moving. Make my way over by the vent, making sure to jump around this invisible wall here. I can then drop down and pop back in bounds. Grabbing this sign, crossing the gap, I then pull the lever and run towards the monster, turning back around once I get close enough. This forces me into the next section, which is much faster than waiting for the door. Now it's time for Omicron. Just an absolute gauntlet of tough clips, flights, and all around difficult tricks. Definitely where I tend to lose a lot of time whenever I'm even remotely on a good pace. First though, we even gotta get into the place, which involves a rather tough clip with this prop. I try to grab it in a specific spot, then make my way over to the side door. I gotta line up just right along the side of the door. It's pretty specific, and you gotta be towards the side, not in the middle of it. And if you're off just a little bit, you can get stuck into the wall completely and have to reload. Or the prop can go flying off into the abyss. But if we time the regrab just right, we can clip right through into Omicron. I did mess it up a few times, unfortunately.
Thank you, Lord! I've been struggling with that a lot lately.
Once inside, I immediately grab this box and run at the door, spam clicking as I do, which clips me through. Then I click the first 2 nodes 4 times, the third one 3 times, and the fourth once, allowing me to grab the item I need and then clip back through the door, which I do that the normal way, since doing it when you're facing the box never seems to want to work for me going back through this door, so I just do it the normal way, a little bit slower. I grab the old box, fly up to the next level, where I clip through and jump along this very thin edge, making sure to jump at the very last second, or else a lot of the time it won't let me on to the next edge and you'll just fall. I then look at the whiteboard while running into the corner and I get clipped back inside. Luckily I haven't taken any damage, because if you have a limp for this, it can be really hard to get back in. I open both doors, jump the table, set up another lean clip where I hit the panel here and immediately cancel it with a right click. I can swipe my camera around and spam click at the same time, hoping to grab the item inside. It took a few tries, but we got it. Using the extinguisher, I can clip through these doors, making sure to grab it again to get through the next one. We ascend once more to the next level. Clip into Robot Girl's room. Grab the final item we need, then crouch into this corner, where I slightly move my camera to the side, which helps me get back out. I make my way over to this wall, which this wall is too high to jump up normally, so I gotta do a certain little trick with my camera, and if I swipe my camera just right, which I'm not very good at this, still need a lot more practice with it, but if we do it just right, it'll give us a bit of extra height on our jump, and we're able to get up here.
Oh, come on. Thank you. Thank you.
Where we can drop down and clip back in, and now we gotta do one of the toughest final tricks of the run, to be honest. This is even where I create my first safety save, since we need this chair to prop open the door so that we can get to the suit that we need. So I grab the chair, I prop it against the door, I then use a re-grab in the upper corner. Once it's in this glitch state, I put it against the door in the hopes that we can get a leg to clip through and prop it open ever so slightly so that we can interact and activate the suit. It's only interactable for a brief moment, and while the door is at a certain angle, basically you just gotta spam click and hope for the best. Thankfully, the Frictional gods were smiling upon me that day, as we managed to get it right away, which was huge. We then needed to hurry over to the door to trigger the monster before inserting Catherine to get to work on the suit. First, we interact with the suit, then we press the button to get the panel ready. Then interact with the suit twice more to put the rest of the items we had collected inside. Now we open the door and throw the box in. This is for later. We wait for the panel to finish and immediately activate Pod D. I run over here and clip into the room with the chair to start the transfer. Once I can interact with this panel, I click twice on the right, twice on the left for the other two, and then quickly interact with the chair, saving and quitting as soon as possible. This will keep me out of the chair while being scanned once I load back in. I then wait to sit back down long enough to trigger more dialogue from Catherine for reasons I don't fully have knowledge of, doing all this, then saving and quitting once again the moment we spawn into the new suit and can see our hands, allows us to skip a whole lot of dialogue between Catherine and Simon. So after spawning in twice, I will finally be able to just grab the Omni tool, activate the panel, and clip back out of the room with the box we set in here earlier. Once out, I just wait over on this extremely thin edge so that I'm in the perfect position once the game loads the next part of the level, and we can just run right down and sit in the elevator. It's always exciting to have an elevator-worthy run. It does, however, mean we gotta sit through quite a long, unskippable ride to the bottom of the ocean. It's not the worst thing ever. Usually if I'm here, it means I'm on a good run, so this gives me an opportunity to calm the nerves and take a break. The moment we're free, I hop over to this building and grab this grinder tool. We got a long flight ahead of us through the deep dark abyss, and I need to make sure I get high enough before going too far, since there's a trigger for the storm that you'll hit, slowing you down quite a lot and basically making it impossible to see. I've lost a few runs to foolishly underestimating this. This is quite a long flight too, but for the most part we just want to go straight off the pipe and head to the end of the level, stopping a ways in to land on this platform before continuing past to the next mountain. I believe there's another loading trigger there that's important to hit, that's why we do that. We keep heading mostly straight though, eventually being able to see the distant lights for guidance. I still need to be careful of the storm here, but at least if I do hit it, then I can still see enough to continue, so it's not the biggest deal. Dropping down, I'm careful not to lose the grinder though, as I tend to accidentally drop it from getting too high and letting it drift too far away as I fall, which normally you can kind of bump it into yourself to reset it so it doesn't drop out of your hand, but for some reason that didn't work for me here, and I lost it. I set the grinder up in this next room, activate the panel, and then I bring it up top and prepare for another clip. Which, this was a clip that I actually was feeling pretty confident with for quite a while, but lately it had been giving me trouble, so my heart was just a going at this point, hoping to God that this clip would just work. Luckily though, we did get through on the second try, and now we must get the arc. Running along the ceilings out of bounds, I'm extra careful to stay to the right as I drop down since there's a death hole there. I've killed a run to it before. I try to jump just right along this wall, and it lets you up nice and smooth. Otherwise, it can be a bit annoying to get up there. Once again, we have another spot where it's easy to fall though. I jump right around this corner, aiming for the side of this beam here. From there, I can hop over to this other wall where spamming jump to the left usually works pretty well to get me up. We make our way to the room with the arc ahead, using the bed against the wall to pull us back in bounds. We got no time to speak to this invisible lady, as we gotta keep going fast. I pull the plug, clip out of this wall, grabbing the arc on my way down. I carefully drop off the side. Line up my flashlight in the middle of this thing, then place my cursor in the corner of the monitor, trying to set myself up for this rather tough clip. Once I feel confident, I sprint through, praying I come out on the other side and don't fall into the abyss. This is where I make my second safety save, since it is usually pretty inconsistent. Thankfully, I get through right away and attach the arc, quickly flooding the chamber so we can get out and keep moving. I use this thing to try my best and quickly ascend out of this hole. I'm pretty bad at this ascent though, because the hitboxes will get you caught pretty easily. It can be a little finicky trying to get out of there.
Man, I just couldn't get it for a second there. I was a little scared it was gonna drop me.
But all that's left is one last big flight, and then a really tiny one, and we're done with the run.
Yeah, it kind of sucks I got so high there. Come on, what are you doing?
After loading into Phi, I immediately mess up a super easy jump multiple times before getting on top of here and crouching to clip through this wall, making sure to slow my descent with the water, as to not get a limp, making the flight ahead harder. I hurry over to this floating tuna can here, try to properly space myself as it needs to be just right, just like the box in the beginning of the run on the vent. I re-grab the can while looking straight down and manage to get on top of it, allowing the power of flight once more so that I can make my way right up and into the final room.
A little close to hitting that. Nice, dude. That's gonna be a huge PB. Huge PB.
Guess you won't have to.
Now I can insert Kath, sit in the chair, operate the crane to send off the arc. Where eventually we spawn, finish out the run by hurrying over to where Catherine awaits us. The timer ending as soon as the screen fades to black, giving us a final time of 56:22, almost a 2-minute improvement over my previous PB, and good enough to get us 6th place on the leaderboard, which I will certainly be returning to improve my time, as I really enjoyed this run. If you're at all interested in learning this run for yourself, I'll put some resources in the description below that you can check out. Just a couple channels that really helped me learn the run much quicker. But you guys are awesome for watching, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.